Everybody said Harold Brasington was crazy. He acted normal most of the time, but bring up racing, and he took a serious turn. 1933, when he traipsed up to the greatest spectacle in sport, the Indy 500, that's where the trouble began. Driving back to South Carolina, that's when he had the epiphany. What was needed was an Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a 500-mile race and 200,000 visitors for his hometown, Darlington, South Carolina. He could picture it. The start, 3 racers in a row, and row upon row of racing thunder. The 4 precisely banked turns, the 2.5 miles of pavement dedicated to danger and blazing speed. However, dreams of the 30s ended abruptly, tucked away for a nation's sacrifice that was World War II. Come that day when what is termed our best and brightest hit the home shore, Harold Brasington was right back after his dream, rustling up money, finding a place to build, and wouldn't you know, a neighbor set the whole crazy idea in motion, telling Harold to go ahead and use his farm on Old Hartsville Road. Harold's dream of a Southern 500 to rival Indy took shape. There were variations. The 2.5 miles of pavement, for space reasons, became a mile and around a quarter. The 4 turns became 2 giant sweeping ends. And then there was the minnow pond. The land provider was adamant his minnow pond would fit right in where it existed or else. So, rather than building a detour around the minnow pond, one end of the track was dramatically redesigned, like the small end of an egg, and the other end blossomed out like a hot air balloon. 1950 Labor Day, there it was, perhaps the most imperfect paved speedway ever devised by man. The cars were not those Indy types, but that new revelation, stock cars, Detroit iron, that Bill France and his NASCAR Renegades brought to the party. And Bill France was only too happy to help Harold out with all the subtleties of marketing and promotion. Now listen to this. Bill learned that an Indianapolis 500 personality was available. The only request of the star was a car. The press was informed that France himself and fellow entrepreneur Elvin Hawkins were carefully preparing in secret a brand new 1950 Plymouth in which Indianapolis great Johnny Madman Mance would challenge the NASCAR elite. What a story. What a joke. Mance qualified slowest in the 75-car field. Now it was race day. A full house, curious as much to see if those cars could actually run 500 miles on pavement like they operated on Carolina red clay. But here they came, 3 abreast, just like the 33 starters at Indy these days, except there were 75. Over the next 6 hours, fans saw the darndest collection of bursting tires, busted fences, and general mayhem with which NASCAR had yet been involved. The tires and tubes, as Hank Williams used to say, were doing fine, but the air was showing through. Tire problems? You bet. Meanwhile, wily Mr. Mance, according to Cotton Owens, had strapped on some special fancy Firestone tires that wore like iron, leftovers from the 2,000-mile Mexican road race. While most were taking a lot of time in the pits, Mance dawdled along in the slow lane, down on the bottom of the track, ducking the destroyed as they spiraled into the infield. So, you get the picture. It's the old Aesop's fable. The turtle beats all the bunnies by a mile. Well, actually 9 miles. What did it all prove? Well, first, that Harold Brasington was not quite as crazy as many assumed. Even before the race was over, Darlington was a name to be reckoned with in motorsports. Harold had created a track with all kinds of quirks and imperfections like none before or since. And it was the perfect track to test this new form of motorsports. To win at Darlington took guile and courage and homegrown smarts. So if you want to see what stock car racing was and can be today, come to Darlington. For the Southern 500, they take pride in treating their visitors with a sense of old-time, homemade Howard Brasington hospitality. unless you get caught poaching in the minnow pond.
Hi, I'm Parker Kligerman. For more access like this from Pit Road, be sure to click and subscribe to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube channel.